confident woman, what makes a confident woman, like Kayla said, is that you cannot be afraid. You cannot have fear. So we have to decide that I will not live in fear. And that is the attitude that we need to have towards fear. It doesn't mean that we will never feel fear, because fear, we're going to feel it. But it means that we will not allow it to rule our decisions and our actions. Fear is not from God. Somebody read 2 Timothy 1:7.
Porque Dios no ha dado el espíritu de temor, pero de amor. Something in dominio propio. There you go. Okay, open it.
Yeah. 1 Timothy 1. 2 Timothy 1:7.
For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-discipline.
Okay, somebody else read Hebrew 10:38.
Now the just shall live, Hebrews 10:38. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. Hebrews 10:38.
That's Hebrews 10:38.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me explain what fear does. Let me explain what fear is. Fear is just a feeling. And we have to understand that in our life, we cannot let our lives be controlled by a feeling. And that's what fear is. Fear causes people to just give up. Fear paralyzes people from moving on forward. That's what fear does. So it's easier for people to ignore something than confront something. It's easier. It's easier to say, okay, whatever, yeah, it doesn't exist. That's it. But when we confront, and this is something that we have to do with fear. Fear is something that you need to confront. That it cannot be ignored. Because it's going to be a feeling that you're going to feel. That sometimes when you feel, when you're about to do something, it's like, I don't know if I should do it. Or I'm going to make the decision, but I'm afraid, so I'm not going to do it. And a lot of people, they stop a lot of blessings, and they don't obtain things that they should have in their lives because of fear. So you see, fear can be a very powerful enemy. It can be something that can steal things from you. That's what fear does. So a confident woman, a confident young woman cannot live in fear. Fear cannot be part of our lives. And it says here that the devil is a liar, and he does not want God's plans to be fulfilled in our lives. So many times when God is about to do something in your life, and when you're going to move under the direction of life, of what God has for you, what does the devil do? He places fear. Haven't you felt that when you're about to like go forward in the Lord, all of a sudden like you like, oh my God, like I don't know, maybe this is not going to work for me, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, and all these doubts start to come in your head. And all of a sudden you just stay back and you're like, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. That's what fear does. That's how fear works. So we have to understand that the way to conquer fear is to say, guess what? No, I'm going to feel fear. I'm not going to ignore the fact that I'm going to feel fear, but I'm going to be able to go forward. Understand that, you know what, I'm going to confront to say, guess what? Maybe I'm afraid. Maybe it may not work. Maybe I'm going in this with my eyes closed, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to move, and I'm just going to go forward and do what I need to do, and that's it. And that's, we need to confront fear eye to eye. People become someone else because they fear not being accepted. And sometimes people control other people because they are afraid of what that person can do. And sometimes we let people control us because of the fear that we think that we're going to mess something up. And people sometimes go and date other wrong people because of fear. You understand? Like, fear can be something very, very tremendous. And it says that people go into wrong relationship because they fear being alone. You understand? Like, sometimes people base their decisions on fear. Like, if I don't want to feel alone, I go and I take whatever guy says, oh, yes, look, you're so pretty. And I go with that. It may not be the best relationship. It may not be the best situation, but I go. And I go into that relationship because what? I'm afraid of being alone. Or I go and I start becoming something I'm not because I'm afraid that I'm not going to be accepted. Oh,
When?
we in our church, like I was giving the youth. I've been giving them for the past 2 months. Every Friday, we're doing this conference after the service about. It's called the 12 tipos de noviazgo tóxicos. Those are, relationships that are bad, that really damage. So they have kind of funny names. It's very like funny. Like they have in noviazgo Osama bin Laden. Like those are people that come in your life and they come and they destroy everything. Like a terrorist does. They sneak on you, but then boom, it's just an explosion. What was another one? The one there's the pinky and the brain one, which is like, you have a person and there's two people in the relationship. One is pinky, which is the one that says yes to everything, and then there's the brain, the one that manipulates and wants to get his way. Like, and we spoke about that, not only relationship but also as people. Like, we shouldn't have these characteristics. The one she's talking about is peor es nada. Those are people that they get to a point in their life where they're really desperate, so they think that peor es nada. So in other words, I'd rather have something than not have nothing at all. You understand? So they go by whatever that something is. They don't care. But as long as that's something,
as long as they get it,
it's rather something than nothing. So peor es nada. So that's what she's talking about. And it's a little bit similar to that. When people get to that point where they get desperate and they don't want to be lonely, so they fall into...
And they choose anything just not to be by themselves.
Not just to have nothing. Like, that nothing is like, oh my God, it's like scary to them. So they just go by that. All right, our third point is a confident woman is positive. Let me see if I have a Bible verse. Somebody read Romans 8:28.
There's no more pencil.
And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose.
Okay, so you gotta understand that confidence and negativity don't go together. Like, they don't work. It's like water and oil. Like, they don't mix. You understand? Like, they don't become one. It just doesn't work together. So confidence and negativity is something just like that. They cannot be mixed together. They're the total opposite. So either you're confident or either you're negative. And when you're positive and negative, that's a matter of choice. You understand? Like, being positive, it's the way of speaking, the way you think, the way you move, the way you act. That all has to do with either you're positive or you're negative. And you tell me, would you like to be around a negative person? Nobody loves to be around a negative person. It's like the worst. You just be like, oh my God, like, can this person just shut up? Because everything they say is just negative, negative, negative. Oh my God, I don't like this. Oh my God, look at this. Oh my God, look at this. Oh, everything is just negative. Nobody likes to be around that kind of person. So people like to be around positive people. And then there's this saying that people have, negative people have, that they say, like, I'm not gonna expect anything because I don't want to get disappointed. So they always look for the worst. They always wait for the worst. They stay there. They don't expect nothing good because they say, I don't want to get disappointed, so I'm just gonna expect for the worst. And they stay there. You think that's the right way of thinking? Because a lot of people are convinced that that's okay. That it's good to think that way. That if you don't expect anything, that you won't get disappointed. What do you think about that?
They made their own conclusion, their own ending, the everlasting happy ending, a negative ending, and that's never happy. So we shouldn't make our own conclusions. We should actually request or want more around positive people.
Because they have to understand that this is the point I wrote. If you're living in disappointment, all of your thoughts and expectations are going to be negative. So people think that being positive is not living in reality. And you're going to see a lot of people like, you're not being realistic. Stop being so positive. Like, it doesn't always work like that.
No, but the Bible says what you speak returns round back to you. If I speak positive and I think that it's going to be good coming out, ending, it's going to come out good.
Whatever comes out is what's going to happen.
And I always explain to the youth, I always say there's a great power in the way that you speak. Because whatever you speak is what's going to be manifested. So if I speak negative, what I'm professing over my life and what's going to happen in my life is going to be negative. But if I speak something positive over my life, then that positiveness is going to be manifested in everything that happens around my life. It's not that I'm living in this world that doesn't exist.